that is in decimal, but I do know what that is in ASCII. So that
Oh,
Todd, do you know? Do you
I
know?
don't. I don't. I failed to look it up this time.
File separator.
File separator. Is this a white
I
space
know, right?
character?
It's a control character in ASCII. Yeah, so file
It's a
separator.
well, it's a
Yeah.
control character, but can I use it as a white space character in an environment where I'm being restricted from
It
using white
probably
space
can't.
character?
Yes, it probably
Okay.
would do something weird in IFS or something. Yes. So yeah, welcome everybody. We are joined by the illustrious Todd Beardsley, as we all know, and me.
Hello.
But yes, hello. But we are also joined by Ulises Fuentes Venado, all the way via the magic of the internet. You're in Mexico City right now, right?
That is true.
If that's
Capital of
if we're allowed to reveal.
Yes.
yeah, of
Sorry,
course.
sorry, we're not clean on that one. Yeah, no. So one of my favorite cities in the world. So
Indeed, indeed. We were
It
just chatting earlier before we started, is that I've lived in Austin, Texas. Me and Rob both live in Austin. But I've lived in Austin for 26 years. I went to Mexico City for the first time last year over the summer in July. San Francisco weather, right? Like it's 72 and sunny all day, except for between 2 and 2:30 when it rains every day. And it's delightful. I don't know why. And it's
no,
like 2 hours
it's
away
one of
by
my favorite
plane.
cities in the world.
If
Yeah.
you live in the American Southwest, do yourself a favor and you want to go vacation somewhere, boy oh boy,
Hmm.
Mexico City is where it's at. It is
Yep.
amazing.
Yep. It's like a 2 hour flight from. It's not long.
Yeah,
Like you
it's
just.
so close. Like you have no time zone deal. Like it, I felt like I was in like a mashup of like Berlin and London and Paris, and also it was only 2 hours away,
Yep.
and full of
Yep.
awesome Mexican food.
So, but meet Ulysses, said to the
Yes,
same tune as Meet Virginia from Train. So, meet Ulysses.
yes. Hi, Ulysses. What's your deal?
Well, buenos dias. As you
Thanks, yeah.
mentioned, broadcasting from Mexico City. My name is Ulises Fuentes Venado. I'm the senior OT pre-sales engineer. That long title, I typically go by Master of the Universe, but um, I work in OT. I'm the person that talks to the clients for GuidePoint's OT cybersecurity group. Talk about what they need, what they're looking for, and try to get the best solution in front of them, and then pass it to a group of engineers so they can do what they do, the magic that they do.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
um,
and apparently you're a shoe guy too.
I'm a shoe guy too, so it grew up in selling shoes. I can guess people's sizes in centimeters, like freedom, like universal unit, not freedom units,
Hmm.
inches. Um, a little bit about my background. Even though I'm in sales right now, my background has always been, well, I've always been in sales because growing up and kind of selling and also part of my job. But my background is technical too. I started getting in technology a long, long time ago. When I was 15, I'm 40, so it's
Okay.
25 years ago. I used to work at a small computer shop that they were the first ISP for my little hometown in Mexico.
Okay.
And I remember like they had these modems like 28 kbs or it was
Mm,
33. I can't remember exactly what was the speed. They had a stack of them.
33.6.
33.6.
Yes, yes,
Yep.
33.6, right.
I
And I
too
remember
worked at an ISP.
these these were Motorola ones with
Hmm.
serial
Hmm.
connections. And I even remember like when the clients were having problems with their connections, I had to actually go into the store, into the shop, and couldn't like power cycle those modems.
Hmm.
So um, then in 19, I started my own consulting business in Mexico. I
Hmm.
started doing software developer development. I started as a software developer. And then at some point, I started getting into networking. And then that took me to programming PLCs. Somebody told me, like, hey, can you help me troubleshoot the thing with the flashing lights? Is like, well, if you let me break that thing with the flashing light, I'll try to help you.
Hmm.
Um, then that was kind of more or less around 15 years ago. Then in 2015, I moved to the States and started working for Rockwell Automation as an instructor. I was teaching their CCNA industrial class, another classes, control logics classes, factory talk classes, factory talk VUME classes. So did that for around 5 years, then moved into working with a distributor as their senior network services engineer. So
Hmm.
work around like providing networking services, promoting cybersecurity, of course. And um, then I worked for Ernst& Young OT Cybersecurity Group. After that, worked for Walmart OT Cybersecurity Group,
Hmm.
and now with GuidePoint. So that's a little bit about me.
So
I think I've revealed
you
a
have
lot.
been around, I'd say. I'm going to go
Yes,
ahead and
yes.
kill the share. Everyone has now memorized these fun facts about you. There will be a quiz at the end.
There will,
Um,
yes, it'll be on the test. So,
but yeah, you know your bleeps from your bloops when it comes to the OT. And I
mhm.
learned this about you, Ulysses. What was it? Geez, was it only 3 weeks ago?
Yeah,
4 weeks
yeah.
ago, something like that.
Yeah.
Rob and I were at a company-wide offsite, which is our habit here at runZero.
As
And
we do.
yes, and we had Ulysses happened to be in town where we were, and so we invited him along. He's as stated, he's from GuidePoint, which is a channel partner of runZero, and we basically just rapped about like OT in front of the entire company as an audience for over an hour. Like I was a little worried when we started. It's like, no, we're gonna get like a half an hour worth of good stuff out of it. It was a while, and people really
Hmm.
liked it. I'm like, hey, and then I'm there thinking like, oh, dang, we have a runZero hour coming up. Can we just do this again? And so
Hmm.
that's what
Hmm.
we're doing today, everyone. And we're going to get into it. We're going to get into OT security. And, you may be noticing a theme in runZero hours as of late. In January, we had an OT chat with Brianna Cluck,
Hmm.
fan favorite Brianna Cluck.
Hmm.
And so and Brianna's a weirdo who likes weird things for sure. And I mean that like in the kindest possible way. I
Yeah.
love weirdos. Ulysses is a weirdo as well, but in different ways. And so I think we can get into it, right? And
Hmm.
so top of mind for folks who are not slavish followers of this live stream. What I'm going to open with, I'm going to start with you, Rob, and then I'm going to have Ulysses tell you why you're wrong. What is unique about the equipment in OT environments, and why do we have such huge visibility gaps in any
Hmm.
given network that contains OT equipment?
So, and boy, I there's like a million ways I can answer this wrong. So it's great. In fact, one could even say that there's more wrong answers, right? But I'm kidding. So, one of the interesting things about OT devices, they are very often decades old. Like it's not unusual to see a device that's 21, 22 years old.
Hmm.
And these systems tend to be, designed to not have a huge amount of computing power and a huge amount of whatever going on, right? Like their job is to run the thing and spin the wheel, right? And so as a result, they tend to not have a lot of leftover capacity or even really need for um, doing the discovery protocol.
Right.
So there's maybe, generally speaking, there was already like a spreadsheet or something that would tell you what it is. And so these systems often run also on proprietary protocols that, or not even proprietary anymore. Like there's so many standards to choose from but these protocols tended to be not as commonly known about.
Hmm.
One of the things that I've been deep diving into lately is the concept of these protocol gateway bits of magic, right? So a lot of OT protocols are used to uh, a lot of these OT protocols are gateways so that you have like IP networks that we've converged onto IP as sort of the what's the word? The commodity protocol, right?
Right.
And then these OT protocols are then built. Um, these OT protocols have then been migrated basically on top of on top of IP, right? And so now we are like, well, now we can use these protocols as IP, but we're still talking about them in sort of this classic OT sense. And discovery and visibility was not always the primary purpose And I realized that was a longer answer than maybe anybody needed. So, Ulysses, please, I would love to hear your take on that.
Thank you, Rob. I 100% agree with you. That's definitely something that we see um, some problems with visibility. I would add there's a lot of, from my perspective, as you were talking, I was just trying to make my answer, try to put it in order because, as Todd mentioned, I'm a weirdo, so I can start talking about different things. Right now, I think one of the biggest challenges that we have is the tools that we're using and how the infrastructure is deployed.
Mhm.
Um, First of all, we're more used to use passive tools to get information from the network. And most of these networks have unmanaged switches at the levels where you have important data.
Mhm.
Or data that you're interested in looking at. I'm talking about Purdue level one down, right? Where you want to see your devices, your actually automation devices. So
Mhm.
those are unmanaged switches most of the time. So you cannot pass traffic to passive tools at that point. That's one challenge. The other challenge you were mentioning too, gateways. As soon as you say gateway, I know what you mean. You come from the networking world, and I think in two things immediately, right? The gateway that helps you pass data through subnets, or the gateway that helps you pass data through two different types of networks in OT, where you have a PLC rack and you have a card for Ethernet and you have a card for control net or device net,
Okay.
or even another card for one card for Ethernet, two cards for Ethernet, and basically data is passing from one network to another. That's a gateway, right? So when you talk to a controls engineer that's not too familiar with networking, they will tell you that's their gateway. So that's another challenge. Seeing behind the controllers, the PLCs, seeing what networks. So you have your visibility tool here at the top, then you have your PLC, and then
Mhm.
you have another card, a secondary NIC, and try to see beyond that. I think that's another challenge. Um, you're a mute, Rob.
Sure.
Sorry. So, hey, you were saying a lot of with passive discovery, right? So, traditionally, it's been passive discovery in OT networks. Do you want to maybe talk a little bit about why that's the case?
So, um, there's, I'm trying to think about how to put this answer. Um, there's a lot of unknowns in OT, right?
Hmm.
We think it's a fragile equipment, which it can be.
Hmm.
Not, I'm not, I don't have any data here or that I've tested, like data points that I can show you that tells you how fragile a device is or not. But it was the common conception that because there's a lot of unknowns, that the only way to monitor your network in industrial environments was through passive tools,
Hmm.
which
Hmm.
they're really necessary, right? They do
Sure.
a specific job and they help a lot and they have helped a lot, the industry a lot.
Hmm.
But as technologies have evolved, as people have experimented also more and more, well, I'm sorry, just to add, like people thought like, or we thought, the industry thought that the only way to do it was passive. So because you didn't want to put any traffic into your network that could disrupt your devices.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
these devices, as you mentioned, most of them are old, or a lot of them, I don't know really how much it's new equipment versus really old equipment.
Mhm.
Hmm.
But a lot of that equipment was old or is old, and like there's a lot of also knowns in the network, right?
Hmm.
I've seen multiple networks that the controls engineers will tell me like, well, we have like downtime every 3 days. Like this network goes off for every three
Hmm.
days. Or
Interesting.
That is
or
interesting.
yeah. And they're like my assessment was like, well, you have a lot of uncontrolled traffic.
Hmm.
Multicast is something that is used a lot in industrial networks,
Hmm.
which is not as common or is not as well known in IT networks, not as like
Hmm.
commonly used. I know it's used for different applications, phones and everything, But like in industrial network, it was more common, or it's more common. And so when it's uncontrolled,
Mhm.
Hmm.
um, it becomes a mess, right? You have a lot of unmanaged switches. So multicast becomes basically unknown unicast and it's flooded. I'm trying to use the right terminology because if I say
Exactly.
multicast becomes broadcast, people are going to kill me, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
um,
The nerds in the chat will grab their
Right,
pitchforks.
yeah, it's
right,
like that's
right.
not wrong. So there was a lot of unknowns on the industry, right? So that's why
Hmm.
the original idea was go to passive, and it's still kind of like what it's common knowledge, I guess, or like common
Hmm.
wisdom, or like I don't know how to say it, but it's like you go on the safe side, you go with passive.
Right.
But
Well, and does this strike you as So I does this strike you as lore and superstition, or is it real, right? Because like this is what I always trying to like kind of zone in on when I because I'm a dope when it comes to OT. Like I don't know nothing about no operational technologies, but like I do have a background in networking and all of
Hmm.
that, right? Like I know my sins from my acts and all that. And so like to me, anytime like the story I always hear and tell is like, oh yeah, that one time I crashed the factory floor, right? Because I ran Nmap and I just did Nmap, max everything, Christmas tree packets, all the
Hmm.
bits lit
Hmm.
up. And what do you know? Crash the factory floor. Oopsie doodle, don't do that again. And I caused $3 million worth of outage, in the space of like 15 minutes. Great.
Hmm.
But this is the thing, like every network engineer who has some kind of remit to do security has this story. They've all done it at least once, hopefully only once per
Hmm.
employer. Um, and so like I guess my question is like, are we still in that zone, or is it of like, oh, don't ever scan nothing? Because
Hmm.
like everything is like a delicate, house of cards built out of spun sugar and it'll all fall apart if you look at it weird. Um, or is this overstated perchance? And I'll give you like an example, right? Like there's a site, you can Google it, do it right now, chat, called Hacklore. Don't know what the TLD is. It's probably a .org or something. But it's all about like, hey, we should start battling against these superstitions around security that aren't real, right? Like,
Hmm.
don't use Wi-Fi, don't use public Wi-Fi. It's unsafe, right? Like,
Right.
this was true for sure 15 years ago. And then, we have HTTPS everywhere, right?
Hmm.
And now you even have like DNS over HTTPS, right?
Hmm.
And so like your risk of like getting owned just by connecting to the local coffee shop network is trivial compared to like other habits you might indulge in, right? And so this is a long way around of saying like you always tell people, when you hire new security people to show up to your place that has some OT in it, like they're running a factory or they're like running HVAC or they're doing other OT-ish things, like don't scan this network because if you scan it, it falls over. Is that still true today, Ulysses?
well, I think we have to look at how things have changed, especially after the pandemic.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Like I remember during the pandemic times, I was working for Rockwell Automation Distributor, and like people were desperate for parts because there were no parts or no components. And the interesting story is that we kept telling people you have to get like a contract for parts or you have to renew your equipment, right? So things have changed in my opinion after. Not, I don't know how much automation world is kind of interesting
Hmm.
because it's all about like making sure that you have the equipment is working and it making like efficient when it comes to money.
Mhm.
So I know things have changed. So we with these changes, new equipment has come, right? We also
Hmm.
have a new generation of engineers going into the plant floors that are a little bit more aware of the networking piece and
Hmm.
capabilities
Hmm.
and stuff like that. So I would say things have changed and doing scans should be like it's easier. than doing it before. I've seen, like, I cannot say which companies, but I've seen like suddenly we're deploying a passive tool to
Mhm.
like look for to do threat hunting, threat detection, and suddenly we see something scanning everything in on the OT side. Is like it's a
Mhm.
scanner, vulnerability scanner. I'm not going to say any brands.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that has been happening for years and or months, and nothing really has happened. So it will all depend on like what I say is even like from passive tools, because
Mhm.
passive tools, there's the misconception from a networking piece that a passive tool does not disrupt your network. That is
Mhm.
not correct because it does, you have to put changes or do changes in your network to pass
Mhm.
data to the sensor, to the data collector. So
I see.
there's
So that
traffic.
the act of configuring that itself is disruptive,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
You change the outcome by measuring it. Exactly. Very quantum.
But
Yeah.
but like everything has a risk.
Mhm.
So when people say like, well, like either you do active or passive, you have to know your network.
Mhm.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like this is your like it doesn't matter what it is, you have to know your network before you do anything. Um, Giving you a short answer about Todd about like the question you asked, I would say I feel more comfortable scanning now than I
Mhm.
was before, and
Okay.
Okay.
So we're
several
making some
reasons, right?
incremental
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Would
progress
you say
there.
you are comfortable or just more comfortable? Are you less
It's
uncomfortable
not,
or?
maybe it's not laughably insane, right? To say like we should scan the network once, right?
Well, I feel
Maybe don't turn
comfortable.
everything on. Maybe don't do it as fast as you possibly can. Maybe don't like send a bunch of fuzzing traffic. All of that, right? Like, but you can design scan. I would argue what I'm hearing from you, Ulysses. Let me put some words in your mouth. That with very careful design, it is possible to
Yeah.
scan a network actively.
Uh,
That
uh,
that contains OT stuff.
I have the same precautions when I do it passive and active.
Hmm.
I've seen networks come down when I was doing passive.
Really?
Or yeah, like most of the time, like when we're dealing with passive, we let the network engineering team work with that.
Hmm.
So we're providing information where we're the best places to capture information and send it to the sensor.
Hmm.
So that's why I've seen it. It's not that we did it. Just I wanted to be clear, it wasn't us.
Sure. Yeah, mistakes were made.
But like for instance, there's something real interesting. Like I've seen it with ER span, right? Which is getting a little bit technical. It's just I'll be sending it to an IP. It's not like common R span or span. I'm just going to be sending it to an IP. The thing is
Mhm.
that the destination IP kind of doesn't put anything in any traffic on the network. The switches in the middle, like drop the MAC address of that
Mhm.
destination host,
Mhm.
and ER span still sending that traffic to that IP address.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the switches don't know how to, well, IP MAC address. So I'm just going to be
Mhm.
clear that I know the difference between MAC and IP. So
Right.
the switches in the middle like discard um, the MAC address,
Mhm.
especially if it's in another subnet. That's what happened, and they start flooding the traffic for ER span. So I've seen
Okay. Yeah.
ER span like a problem with sending data, or like if you're sending a lot of data using span and rspan, disrupting your network. So
Mhm.
regardless of the type of tool that I use,
Mhm.
I always look at the network. I always look at
Mhm.
the systems, and especially the first like active scans that I do is I talk to the engineers to get information about the behavior of the network, to make sure we tell them when we're going to be performing that exercise. So they're like, keep an eye on that. So it's just the same. I feel comfortable doing scans because I do my due diligence before doing it.
So
Yeah.
how often do you run into in your role, maybe talking a little bit about your role at GuidePoint, but like so A, what is it you say you do here? B, how often do you run into like these converged networks, right? Where like you've got some IT stuff and maybe some, zero to N OT endpoints, just kind of intermixed in between. And is it ever like, is it on purpose? Is it by accident? Like what's your sense of like when you roll into a client site? Like how often do you find OT in what would normally be called like a traditional IT network?
I'm trying to think about it. Like in my experience,
Uh,
most of the time there's some type of demarcation between IT and OT.
mhm.
Like most
Usually intended, right?
intended, yes.
Right.
Most engineers know that they need to use a subnet for IT and a subnet for OT. That's for me, that's it. Because, and it's funny because most of the clients say, like, oh, I have IT and OT mixed. So when they tell me that is, I think that the PLC is next to the printer, basically, or
Right.
the like the same sharing an IP address like on the same subnet as the printer.
Hmm.
That's for me like chaos, right? Like
Hmm.
most of like it's natural that we're gonna see OT and IT separate. Maybe there's not it's really common. There's maybe not like they're using the same core or like, and there's no firewalls between those two. Or the controls engineer, like laptop, can go directly from the OT subnet into the IT subnet. That's where like, okay, for
Yep.
starters, like, but there's still some type of logical, basic initial segmentation. Right?
Hmm.
I've seen some things that are a little bit chaotic when it comes to. I've seen a lot of I've seen this a lot more IoT and OT put together in the same subnet because they see it as the same. Or like in companies that whenever we think about OT or factories and automated factories, we're
Hmm.
always thinking about conveyors moving really quick and filling and putting assembling stuff.
Hmm.
But there's a lot of factories that still have to do things manual, right?
Hmm.
Like especially if you think about, I don't know, maybe um, try to make it an example like padlocks or something like that. They like there's a human, right? They has a computer, and there's a human that tells put this that they're telling put this part together from this box with
Hmm.
this other box, and then you put it as part of the assembly line, right?
Hmm.
Because the reason why some of these things are not automated is because it's either physically not possible or it's not cost effective. There's a lot of things in automation that it's been proven that a human is more effective than buying a machine.
Sure.
So um
Go humans.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. Team humans.
yeah.
So.
So we have a lot of those where like customer reaches out to us is like, well, I have OT for I want to know OT cybersecurity for my plant. And then you start
Hmm.
looking at like you basically just have engineering workstations and your OT is really minimal. So that's what I've seen. I don't know if that answers the question or is more confusing, but um,
Let's talk about like security and stuff. Like, do attackers actually care about OT targets? Rob.
So, and before I forget, talking about the hacker lore thing, if you haven't seen it, everybody watch our Fearless Leaders keynote at Sector. HD Moore gave a talk called The Once and Future Rules of Cybersecurity that also ties very well into.
Sure.
So, super great talk. It's on the internets, it's on the interwebs. Um, so, security for and why OT devices are good targets for attackers. My favorite saying, and I'm just going to hammer this one home because I felt so clever when I came up with it, and I am the smartest specialist boy,
Yes.
is that everybody has an IT. You've got backups. You've got potentially cold sites or warm sites. Very few people have a spare factory lying
Mhm.
around, and if they do, it is not something you can bring online very quickly. And also, if you mess up factories, if you mess up OT devices, you can cause real physical damage, real uh, supply chain mix ups, mess ups. So we're seeing a lot more OT targeting in the world.
Mhm.
Um, up to and including we're even seeing now ransomware on these newer, more powerful devices that are running embedded Linux, running embedded Windows. You're
Mhm.
getting actual ransomware on PLCs, which is
Are
is
the on PLCs? So
on
like what kind of
PLCs.
display do these things have? Like how do I know that I've been ransomed?
I mean, they've got, so a lot of these systems, you got to, like Ulysses was saying, these engineering workstations are Windows systems
They're normal
often.
machines, right?
I mean, what is normal?
Normal traditional computers with
Right,
displays and
right.
keyboards and
Yeah.
such. Okay.
But getting these systems attacked, causing a denial of service or an outage or ransomware or whatever, tends to be the disaster recovery plans tend to be harder to implement and harder to effect
Hmm.
than for IT systems. So that's and the consequences tend to be much more, not always, but much more dire. And so that's why
Well,
this is
they tend to
becoming
be
such a
dramatic, right? Like if
right. There we go. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
so like, I'm a threat actor group or whatever, and I want to like extract money from a municipality. I
Hmm.
can turn off or, screw up, valves in a water treatment facility or something. That
Right,
becomes obvious and real. And then I send my ransom note and said, if you don't want this to happen again, please pay me, whatever, two
right.
Bitcoin.
You've graduated from
Yeah,
regular villainy to cartoonish super villainy at that
right.
point. Right. Yeah. So it's yes.
And in the chat, Wes says, is there public reporting or documentation on any of this, like Windows CE based or MISP platform based ransomware? The answer I have is like if it do, I don't know. I don't know if this documentation does exist. If it does exist, I would look to CISA. Like CISA probably has some report, probably
Hmm.
recently,
Hmm.
on like the effect of OT attacks. If you know of any off the top of your head, Ulysses, please feel free to share. But
Yeah.
I would imagine CISA would be the
And
place to
SZA
find
Todd
that.
is the
SZA is
cybersecurity.
the delightful hip hop artist. And no, not that SZA. It's CISA, it's Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, part of the US government. So,
Well, Rob, I would like to add a little bit to what you mentioned, and
mhm.
it's
Please.
interesting. Um, I Everybody says that I love like debating. I'll debate on anything, right? Even if I don't know a lot, I like talking to people, and that's something that I
Hmm.
would like to encourage people in OT cybersecurity to do.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Talk about what you know, talk about what what is your idea, what is your knowledge, what are even your opinions, so you can exchange it with other people. It's been really important for me. I've learned so many things by talking to other OT cybersecurity professionals
Hmm.
about their perspectives. So recently I was having a talk with a group in OT cybersecurity group in Mexico
Hmm.
about OT attacks, right? Like
Hmm.
we're my point of view is that if you look at a controller and level one
Hmm.
and down, Purdue
Hmm.
model is that these devices are not, you cannot officially pen test these devices
Right.
because the definition of pen testing is testing the effectiveness of compensating controls or cybersecurity controls.
Hmm. Hmm.
These devices do not have any controls for cybersecurity
Right.
because these devices were created, designed to do something really well, really quick, right? And
Hmm.
that, and it's not cybersecurity. These
Hmm.
things take ones and zeros, and whatever they read from ones and zeros is they get from ones and zeros is what they do. They
Hmm.
all they
Hmm.
care is about the information that they're receiving, and they do something, but they're not worried about encryption. Although I know there's technologies coming for that, or
Mhm.
there are
Hmm.
already protocols that are could be encrypted. But most of them are not because
Hmm.
it's like I always joke about this, like wanting your nanny to be like also your bodyguard. And I make that joke because I know
Also, yes. It would be
there's this
wildly expensive though, right? Like, and this is the same reason why my nanny is not
Hmm.
my bodyguard. Uh,
Right.
and
Right.
there's a school, by the way, there's a school in London, I think, that trains nannies to be like also kind of like
cool.
like
For high value
bodyguards, right?
targets. Yes, yes.
Yes.
So,
Right. 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 Right.
um,
So
So
okay, but let me jump in on that then. Like, okay, so like you don't want your nanny to be your bodyguard. So who is responsible for OT security then today? Like, is it everyone's
Mhm.
job and therefore no one's job? Is it the IT security, curmudgeonly bearded dudes like us? Or is there like is there a notion of like the OT security specialist? Because if there is, I haven't run into any, but then again, I don't hang around with OT people, right? Like I
Mhm.
hang out with IT security people and I have like my whole professional life. Like I would love to spend more time with OT people at whatever security conferences they go to because it's sure not DEF
Mhm.
CON. And when they are there, it's like there's like 10 of them and they're all at the OT village, right? And
Mhm.
so that doesn't seem very scalable. So like who's responsible today for OT security?
well, I think everybody in the plant floor, they're all
Okay.
responsible
Well,
for
then
that.
that means
I
nobody,
had to
right?
say it, right?
Mhm.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that. OT cybersecurity, it's a hot tamale right now. That's
Mhm.
how I
Mhm.
see it, right? I've said this, and this may be a little bit controversial. Like, I've heard a lot of things, and I've seen different types of backgrounds come into OT cybersecurity. Some of them that like are more used to or something, right? It's kind of a new terrain, and we're
Mhm.
starting to see like different types of combinations. Like I've seen multiple people that are in charge suddenly of an OT cybersecurity program because they did IT. A
Mhm.
lot of
Mhm.
people from OT
Mhm.
cybersecurity that are OT cybersecurity now because they work as IT support and then like a rig or a refinery or something like that.
Mhm.
Um, so it is kind of, in my opinion, a little bit confusing, right? What OT cybersecurity
I
is
mean,
for
it
some
feels
people.
like
And
a
Yeah.
great career path if you're in school today and want to get into cybersecurity because you hate
Mhm.
yourself. Um, maybe pivot, like focus in on that because I do think we're still
Yeah.
in this era of like, I want to do cybersecurity, right? And I'm 19 and I'm in school for that. Like, there's still like a billion things to choose. Like, which way do you want to go? Like, is it databases? Is it networks? Is it
Mhm.
UX? Is it like all of this other stuff? Like, I think you would do well for yourself by, studying up on like what is a PLC and like doing that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Is there like I don't know if this is a trap because I don't even know. We never discuss any of these questions ahead of time, so
Right. Right.
this may be
Yeah.
a flub. Does there exist an OT security certification, a la CISSP, DEH, something like? And yes, we're all
yeah,
going to giggle about how certs
yeah,
suck and they're
yeah.
like lame and everything, but they exist at least, right? Like,
Yeah. Well, this is what I've seen in the industry
Mhm,
and what I always say. If you want to get it, it's easier for me when it comes to just pure cybersecurity,
mhm,
OT
Mhm.
cybersecurity, just working with somebody with a strong cybersecurity background
mhm,
than with like a strong background in IT or even in OT, but not cybersecurity concepts. Cybersecurity, OT
Mhm.
cybersecurity concepts are the same as IT cybersecurity concepts, period. There's no like full stop. There's nothing different.
mhm,
Mhm.
The thing that is different, it's how you will apply these things because of situations like visibility, whether you can do something or not, right? Like how you things that you propose, like for instance, patch management, right? Where are you going to be patching? You still have to
Mhm.
patch, but where, right?
mhm.
So,
Mhm.
and I've seen this a lot too, is people forget about what's a principle of cybersecurity or the goal of cybersecurity is management of risk,
Yeah.
right? And I've seen people get too obsessed with the tools or deploying tools, thinking the tools are gonna like fix the problems or protect
Yeah.
everything.
I
When
want to
it's
be a
like,
carpenter, so I'm going to buy a saw and a hammer and some nails, and then I get frustrated that I'm not carpentering.
yes,
It's like, okay, guys,
Yeah.
yes,
go. In the chat is mentioned the GICSP,
Mhm.
Global Industrial Cybersecurity Professional. That is a thing that exists in the world.
Yep.
So I don't know, something to look at.
Yep.
So
And
we're at
CompTIA also is offering. Uh,
CompTIA has a Sec OT Plus apparently. Oh, coming this year
yeah.
in
Yeah.
November.
Yeah. It's
Wonderful.
2026. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, I'm going to, so we're 40 minutes in. Again, I knew we could talk probably for 4 hours about this and be delighted. At least I'm delighted. I don't know about the chat. They're suffering
I'm
along with us.
delighted. I'm
Um,
delightful, Todd.
you're delightful and delighted. Um, so Ulysses, you work at GuidePoint. GuidePoint is a channel partner for runZero. What jumps out about runZero for you? This is the advertising part, everyone. You can just hang out.
Completely.
We'll come back
Yeah.
with cooler stuff later, but I need to give
Yes. Yes.
Ulysses a minute to like tell me how awesome runZero is.
Yes. Great product or greatest product. I mean, I really just, so no, I'm kidding.
So as I mentioned, I think every tool in the space has its own place,
Mhm.
Hmm.
and every tool is good for certain things that you want to do, like threat hunting, right? I'll go to the passive tools that we were in the
Sure.
market, everything. With runZero, how we use it is we use it for asset discovery. Most of the time,
Hmm.
clients like it has to do a quick assessment. The client doesn't know, like we realize that they don't have the capabilities for, or that there's a special case, right, where we need to go active 100%, or
Hmm.
it's a short, like a quick engagement. We need information right now. So instead of having like that's where we take runZero,
Mhm.
which is a lot of the engagements, especially that what we've seen a lot coming from clients is, I don't know where I am right now. I need you to tell me.
Okay.
So we use runZero to go through their networks. Again, we do our due diligence, make sure that we're not going to bring anything down, tell people, hey, we're going to be conducting these exercise. We get information. We do the scans with runZero, get the information, do kind of a risk perspective.
Mhm.
I call it risk assessment, but it can, depending on what methodology you're
Yeah,
using.
that might mean a thing.
Yeah, yeah. um, and provide a client with a list of assets. We're also kind of discuss with them, here's the assets that we discover, things that we think are your crown jewels.
Mhm.
Hmm.
But at the end, they tell us, right? But it's for that. That's what we use it for, to give the client a really quick and effective perspective. What we like about runZero is
Mhm.
that, and talking to you guys and talking to HD, it's like you're, and I also want to encourage people to do this, have technical talks with the people that
Hmm.
are selling you the product.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Ask how it works. Remember, I told you in the
Oh,
like,
we can't shut up about it.
Yeah. 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 I
right?
mean, hmm.
It's like everybody says, like, it's secure, but how secure, right?
Mhm.
And if
Yep.
you're like, you explain to me, like, well, we've seen tested with these messages, these protocols, we've seen these reactions, and that's how we do it.
Hmm.
So we feel, I personally think that there's not a tool that's 100% secure.
Mhm.
Again,
Hmm.
it's a combination of the environment, it's a combination of a
Hmm.
lot of
Hmm.
unknowns, but our experience with runZero has been really pleasant, and that's how we
Well,
leverage it.
that's great. All right. Welcome
That makes
back,
me
ads,
that warms
ad
my
skippers.
cold heart. Yeah. So
Tim just said something funny in the chat and no context. Yep, it was just segmentation and wishes.
that's right.
Just
That's right.
talking about an assessment he was on, and
And
it
that,
was that
but
really
that does kind of
delighted
tie
me.
into the whole, as OT became, as it got commoditized and started using these commodity protocols. Now you've got the benefit of all these commodity protocols, which is that you can talk to your devices more easily.
Mhm.
And you've got the detriment, which is you can talk to these devices more easily, right? Like they're no longer grade separated. They're no longer a separate sui generis,
Yeah.
serial console, daisy chain, whatever. There is still that, but
Mhm.
that is now connected to an IP gateway. So
Well, so with that, Ulysses, thank you so much for talking to us about OT and OT security and OT gotchas and OT segmentations and wishes. I really love that. I'm going to steal it, Tim. And and I think now is the time we are to pivot to the rapid responses of interest for the last month. Ulysses, please feel free, stick around.
yep.
If you've got things to do, then you're welcome to get the hell out of here. But please don't, because
Uh
I know that
Ulysses, are you going to DEF CON? Is a
oh yeah,
question
are
from
you
the
going to
chat
DEF
before we
CON?
go.
No, no.
You going to B-Sides CDMX, which is right before DEF CON?
Uh,
It's like 3 weeks
no.
before DEF CON, I think.
Well, I'll try to go somewhere. Like I'm gonna be like, there's a lot of events, and it can be
Hmm.
overwhelming. I'm an introvert, So,
Really?
but I'll try
Says the
to
guy who's on the
participate.
webcast talking to hundreds of people. Yeah.
I try not to look at that number.
Right.
So, Todd, before I close, I just
Yeah.
want to say one last comment. And this is a
Please.
tricky question, kind of a trivia question for
Uh-huh.
everybody that, well, I want to thank everybody for their time. And this is a question that I've been asking a lot of people. Tell me the difference between the Purdue model and an
God.
architecture. Because that is a question
What
for
was
the
the
team
second thing? What was the second thing? You dipped at just a sec. The Purdue model
and an architecture.
and
Because
an
there's a
architecture. Okay.
misconception, and here's the trick, that the Purdue model is an architecture.
Hmm.
And there's like I've been debating with a lot of people about this. The Purdue model is not an architecture. It's a reference model.
Hmm.
It's a way to
Okay.
classify your systems in a plant
Mhm.
based on the function, based on the task that they perform.
Is the
So
Purdue model strictly for like, does this born an OT or something? Because like I never ran into it before I started looking at the OT, ICS kind of world.
So the
Hmm.
Purdue model was originally, the Purdue model, as we know for the OT side, was part of what they call the PERA. That's where the confusion comes with an
Uh,
architecture.
uh,
Was it was an engineer from Purdue that created a model
yeah.
for operations in like digital flow and stuff in
Mhm.
1992, and they call it an architecture, reference architecture, Purdue, I can't remember,
Okay.
enterprise something architecture.
Hmm.
So it was basically a way to say this is how like a plant floor works, well, like basically a factory works, and how data flows go, right?
Okay.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
there's a big misconception now since we're talking about OT and we're trying to debunk the myths or talk about the legends in OT. That's where the title
Mhm.
of retroencabulator.
Oh yeah. We went 47 minutes without mentioning retroencabulation one
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah.
And if you get
So
it, you get it.
So there's like we have a lot of clients coming to us like we're not Purdue model architectures. Like, I mean, you can use a Purdue model. It's a model. It's like I'm sure you're like you have PLCs and HMI. It's just your protocols that do not allow you to have things in different segments because they have a TTL of one. So there's no way
Hmm.
you can separate your level zero from level one and like it it is that. So I want to encourage again people to look for the basics. Like
Hmm.
can remember, I think it's Michelangelo who said simplicity is the ultimate sophistication.
Sure.
So go for that. So just
That sounds like something he would say.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Stick around. I'm not kicking you
Thank
out.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let us get to our rapid responses of interest. We've got three in the last month that we're gonna cover very briefly. It's the GNU iNet utils telnet bug. No, not that one. No, not that one.
Not that one either. Yep.
The HPE Aruba kind of family of bugs. There were like four or five, I think, all in a row that you could
Hmm.
string together. And then my favorite target, if I were an evil super genius, round cube webmail. Largely, it's kind of a weird product that you don't usually run into too much in the US, but you run into all the time in Europe. So let's get into it. Um, Rob, you had thoughts on the GNU iNet Utils Telnet D services bug.
Well, yes. So first off, I love Telnet.
Of
I
course,
am of an
we all
age
do.
where, well, no, if I needed to test something, if I needed to see if a service was up on port 80 or whatever, I'm of the age where I would Telnet to it.
Sure.
NC, Netcat, that's all. That's very new. That's
Right.
newfangled stuff. So I would just Telnet to whatever. And there's been a couple of interesting bugs in GNU Telnet D. So Telnet D, obviously, the D stands for daemon. It's the server for Telnet. Telnet
Right.
is what you would use to access a remote system before SSH came along.
Yeah.
And it's a lovely little, very simple protocol. There
Well,
were a couple of bugs that came out. One, the first one that kind of was interesting is that you could do environment variable injection.
mhm.
And you could say, oh, by the way, Telnet, I'm user whatever. And it would end up being passed to login, and you would just
And this was
immediately
last
log in
week's
and save.
bug, right? Yeah.
No, that was, yeah, maybe 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
What I found fascinating about that bug is that that was an issue that came up with a lot of the commercial Unities in the mid to late 90s. So
Right.
like all of them were hit. Like this exact same sort of flaw happened with Solaris and
And back then, like
OSF1.
no one patched anything, right? So this would be a bug that would last like 3 years. Like you could use it
Right, right,
reliably.
and yeah. So it was just the fact that the sort of the same confluence of design happened again. The sort of
Mhm.
parallel construction was, I thought, interesting. And also, it brought me back, right? Like I
Yeah.
remember.
Well,
Uh,
the on the screenshot here, this is a screenshot that I made, yesterday, from
mhm,
our blog of, updated March 13th. So like,
yep,
earlier, just a few days ago. Don't worry, gang, there's another one. And
yep,
that was, I think it was published yesterday. I want to say March 17th.
mhm,
Percolated up for us this morning, and we were like, ah, dang, again, is this the same thing?
yep,
Nope, it's a different thing.
yep,
But they all come down to these like telnet control codes
yeah,
that are all very pre-auth. And yeah, it's bad news. If you're using Telnet for stuff, A, don't put it on the internet, obviously. B, mind your
yeah.
apps and your gets, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. The telnet, yeah. Everybody thinks telnet is just a clear channel, a clear pipe, right? And it just
Mhm.
sends whatever it gets. That's not actually
No,
true.
there's
There are
tons of
A
stuff
control
happening.
codes, and
Yeah.
there's escape codes, and there's
Yep.
negotiation. So
Yeah.
yeah, and there's been several flaws discovered in the parsing of
Yeah.
those option setting
Is this the
things.
last one?
That
Probably not. I
probably
don't know.
not.
I don't know. Like, and this is the thing. Like, I'm
Yeah.
thinking, like, oh, is G-Tan back? Uh, like, is he poisoning all of these iNet utils, bundles or something? Because like these are some old-timey bugs that, like you
Hmm.
say,
Hmm.
like rhyme real hard with like the stuff that we saw in the 90s. So uh,
Yeah.
maybe they've been hanging around in this for 20 years. I don't know. Moving on to HP Aruba. HP Aruba networking. So HP Hewlett Packard, which became HP, which became HPE, through a series of unfortunate mergers, acquired Aruba networking. I want to say like 2015-ish, something like that.
Mm. Really?
So, recently, 11 years ago. And
Honestly, I thought it was before that. But okay, yeah.
well, it was after 3Com. I know that because I was
Because
there
we were
for that,
there.
and so were
Yes, I was there.
you.
I was there for the 3Com acquisition. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Um, yeah. So as a former proud 3Commer, I always giggle just a little bit when there's an Aruba bug. It's like, ah, you want the new stuff, huh? And so, but like HPE Aruba gear. You will find in usually mid-size, usually not very small businesses, usually not huge businesses, because huge enterprises use like Cisco and Juniper because they can afford it, right? But Aruba tends to compete on price, tends to be fine, but has like a lot of hooks into like cloud config kind of stuff. You're smirking at me.
Mm.
I'm not even paying attention to the chat. I assume something funny happened in the chat.
No, no, no. It's just
Um,
reminiscing.
Yes,
So.
yes. So, and I'm like, man, Aruba, you've had like a hard time of it because like for some reason, I think it's just because I have this networking background. Like every time there's an Aruba bug, I pay attention to it no matter what. And and I went to look and I'm like, man, what is this? Like the third or fourth time that they've like showed up on the Kev for Aruba. Not that like being on the Kev is a bad thing or anything. But
Mhm.
then I looked, there are 0 Aruba bugs listed on the Kev, which is baffling to me. Like that's shocking that we don't have enough evidence of exploitation in the world for these
Mhm.
kinds of bugs. So like, I don't know. I don't know how often these are exploited. If you know, shout out,
Yeah.
and let me know.
And
And,
I always bring it up when you mention that, but the
mhm.
whole Kev does require the Kev list does require very specific, strong
Real
evidence,
evidence, yeah,
real evidence. Yeah.
yeah. So
So
like logs are great, PCAPs are great,
yeah.
that kind of thing is great. So like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. I know I looked at some when I was at CISA, for the
Hmm.
CAP, and I guess they just never made the cut.
Yeah.
For the third and final rapid responsive interest is RoundCube webmail. So,
Hmm.
if you are a European government and for some
Hmm.
reason watching this live stream, then you're going to want to pay attention to this because RoundCube webmail is very popular in Brussels for starters. So for like proper EU government kind of stuff, they use Web Roundcube a lot. And then other European governments seem to have this tendency, especially lately, of like moving away from, Microsoft 365, Google Mail, Google Webmail, and that kind of thing. And what they end up landing on is like this
Hmm.
very, delightful self-hosted webmail thing. Um, the Now this guy does show up on the cab for sure.
Hmm. Hmm.
I've seen it happen, and these bugs tend to be pretty bad. It tends to be along the lines of, email your victim, and then you get a shell on their mail server. Like no one has to do anything, so it's bad. So if you are running this. This was released just after our last episode, but I did want to like underline this, right? Like if you're running around Cube,
Yep.
pay attention to the patches.
Hmm.
Don't
Hmm.
sleep on these. Like you're gonna want to make sure your inventories are all up to date. They are always like the whole point is that they are taking things from the internet, taking untrusted user input from the internet
Right.
and
Right.
doing things with it, right? So
Yeah.
this is like the thing that you really do want to make sure that you've got like instrumentation on beyond patching, right? Because like
Hmm.
we find out about these things usually a month or two after they've already been compromised. So
Yeah.
often it's a good idea to like do some forensic analysis along with like your normal patch schedules.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yes, OVH has been mentioned in the chat as well, right?
Yep.
So like these are the two t great tastes that taste great together in European government, OVH and Roundcube.
Yep.
So
Yep.
and then finally, you can come hang out with us, but not Ulysses. I don't think you're not coming over, so
Sorry.
you're right.
Are you coming to
Unfortunately,
our side?
no,
No,
alas. But
I'm
we're going to
not.
be in San Francisco, Rob and I both. I'm going to be
Hmm.
there for a week. Rob's going to be there for a couple days.
Yep.
But I'll be there for B-Side San Francisco and the rest of the runZero crew. And of course, Zeddy the Yeti will be there with us. We've got so much stuff going on. I'm going to keep this up if you want to aim your phone at your screen and catch that, or just go to our website. We've got
Yes.
a banner at the top that says like hang out with us at San Francisco, and you can click on that. But do come hang out with us because if I'm going out of my way to go to B-Side San Francisco and RSA, I love nothing more than to talk to folks who are interested in Run Zero stuff, people who are just interested in security in general, people who tell me I'm wrong about things. I love that
Hmm.
too. I get a lot out of those conversations, but we've got a ton of stuff going on. Rob and I will also be doing this, but imagine this, but several hours of it. Sound great? Because that's
I
what we're
know I'm
doing.
excited.
We have so you are now watching Run Zero Hour. We're going to be doing Run Zero Day
Hmm.
on site in the Children's Museum, which is a museum designed for children, not to display children. Just to be clear, it is not a children museum; it's a children's museum. Um, we're gonna be there. We've got like a whole kind of studio space booked there. We've got so many guests. I believe the schedule's up now. But yeah, go swing through. We've got some like Cyberati folks. We've got some folks with like other companies that are friends with our companies because companies have friends because they're people, right?
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
so but it should be a good
Yep.
time. I'm kind of dreading it, but also it'll be really exciting. It'll be
No, it'll
really
be
fun.
great.
It'll be really fun.
Yeah.
So.
And the Children's Museum it's not far. I mean, look for the carousel. It's
It
like
is,
right across
yeah,
the
it is
way from.
literally across Yerba Buena Park, right? You don't even have to
Yeah.
like touch the street to get there, I think, from Moscone.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would avoid that because the sidewalks are nice, but but yeah, you can walk through the park, go to the thing, and I'm not inviting you, by the way, to come watch it live. We don't have like a live studio audience or anything. Please watch it on your computers.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
don't have room in the studio for an audience. So anyway, that should be a blast. It'll be super fun. And that is it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ulysses, for joining us. And thank you, chat, for hanging out. I love the chat. The chat makes this whole thing worth it for me. There's always good jokes in there. Sorry, YouTubers, you don't get to see the chat. But if you want to see the chat, sign up with this link, and then you too can play along at home. But that's it.
Thank
All
you,
right.
guys.
Yay.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Ulysses. Thank you,
everyone.
Rob. Thank you, Internet. And we'll see you next week in San Francisco. Adios.
Bye. Adios.
Vaya con Dios.
Bye.